Hello everyone. So I'm going to cover this conspiracy today. It's a very old conspiracy and I only found out about it recently, interesting enough, and I've been looking into it and it goes back to, between 1991 and 1994. So, and it's about a guy and he's called Uwe Vandrei and he was like a truther and, a bit of a poet and a loner and more of a night owl than a day owl and stuff. And he basically was an obsessed stalker of the famous singer Sarah McLachlan, who is very famous still to this day, and I love her song Angel. And I never knew about this conspiracy, and it's an album she released on the 22nd of October in 1993, and it's called Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. Well, she had stalkers, okay, because she was a famous singer in that, and she still is back then. And one of her most famous stalkers is a guy called Uwe Vandrei, and he was in the media described as a delusional stalker, okay, and he basically, he's dead now, he died in 1994, and he claimed to own 91% of Sarah's song Possession, which was also released on the album. It was the first song on the album, Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, and it was basically the album that rocketed and took her off and made her extremely famous. So he claims to own the lyrics, and he was her stalker from 1991 to 1994 when he died. And he claims that in the letters he wrote her, she has used his poetry and his heartfelt life stories and stuff in that song. And he had the letters that he wrote to her, and they are the bits that I got to see were very similar to the song and stuff, and his signature is on those letters. So basically he owned 91% of her music, which had already been released. So in 1994 he felt that, she ignores him or whatever, and he's given her the lyrics to her album and it's made her really famous. So he, in 1994, he sued her. He went to sue her, and he was going to sue Nettwerk Arista Records, which worked for Sony, BMG as well, and because they'd already released the album, she was on tour and stuff, singing the whole album, and he claimed to own other lyrics in the other songs on the albums as well, and he had proof of this on his computer. He had the letters he'd been writing to her from 1991, and she claimed that the song was about people who are obsessional over people that they don't know, which also is like him, and she was intrigued at how they could say such stuff to people. So I can understand that, and like she literally like took his lyrics and made them very famous. So he didn't really want to sue her because he had a lawyer and stuff, and he went to that lawyer, but he wanted to be acknowledged for his poetry, and he was very intrigued to find out, why she had chosen to use his word in her lyrics. And as he was totally obsessed in love with her as well, he believed it was going to be like a chance for him to meet her and, co-produce it with her and maybe write songs for her in the future and stuff. So, and maybe in his heart, he also believed that if he did get famous, she might, show more of an interest in him. It really wasn't about the money for him. He had money and stuff. So he was just inspired that, intrigued that she had chosen to use his lyrics in her songs, and he wanted to be recognized for that. So he proceeded, and one day after she was on tour, she was handed a lawsuit from him over the album Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, and particularly the song Possession. So it's really, really sad story, guys. And so he was murdered. They say he committed suicide on September the 28th, 1994, but just before he was going to go and sue just before, let me see, because I did take notes. So he was actually going to get it into court, and just before he was going to go into court, he was found in his pickup truck in the back of it in some woods with his head blown off and a Walkman on his head, listening to the album Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. He was found 5 days later, and I don't think anybody, he was so decomposed and stuff, I don't think they knew it was him until November, so for 2 months, because he was a bit of a loner and stuff, and it went down that he committed suicide. But I've brought this conspiracy back up because his family, they've just kept mostly quiet, and you can't really blame them if they're not sure themselves if he was murdered by, really, Sony Records or whatever. But I just think, it's horrid, and he is the real artist of that song. The more I looked into him, she's singing his life, basically, and that is what he was suing her for, breach of his private, messages and stuff that he had sent to her. And I don't believe it was about the money, and his lawyer didn't believe it was about the money. He just wanted to be acknowledged by her and was incredibly intrigued that she had chosen to use his words, and so there's a real beauty to it, and I don't blame Sarah McLachlan. I just think, she used his words. She should have just been straight up about that from the beginning, and just, could have, I don't know. But it's very sad, and he was found dead, and it's just so sad, and it's just gone down that way, and nobody's ever really looked into it and stuff, and it's so sad because you hear a lot of people claiming that Sony Records do stuff like that, like they'll steal people's, normal people's material and give it to a famous artist or whatever who they want to promote, and the real person could just be bumped off or whatever. Because Uwe Vandrei, before he died, he was an intelligent guy, so he was a computer programmer and stuff, so a bit maybe crazed, but inspired by someone he doesn't know himself. But she herself was inspired by his words, so I don't know. There's an incredible beauty in it, but at the same time an incredible sadness that he had to die for her, to just protect the record company, because he owned 91% of the album. I mean, he would have had a lot of power over them because they'd already released it and stuff. So if he had won and could have proven it in court, so, and he had the letters and stuff with the dates and his signature on them, so yeah. So it's very sad, and I thought I'd bring that up and look into it, guys. His name's Uwe Vandrei, and let's not forget him, as he himself, fought, the industries. We're all trying to, fight because they control our minds and stuff, and yeah, so let's hope Uwe Vandrei's resting in peace now, and, his truth may be told, because I really believe he was definitely murdered, over an album, which is incredibly sad. Such a guy with such a beautiful mind that could create those lyrics and stuff, and it probably breaks Sarah's heart, because I don't believe she murdered him, but I believe because of her mistake or her own interest in his words, it's caused his death. So yeah, okay, bye guys.